Welcome home, Raiders! This week we have the latest stats for raiding in the Warlords of Draenor. The WoW token is coming, and we'll have the details, and we have some recap to do from last week. This is CTR 176.
You're listening to Convert to Raid, the podcast for raiders in the world of Warcraft.
Convert to Raid podcast power station in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today is March 29th, 2015, and it is now 11:18 in the morning over in the central part of the United States of America. My name is Pat Crane. I'm the host of this little shindig, and I'm also called Zug around Airy Peak. And yes, still raiding. We've got some stuff to go over from the last time we raided, I believe. And, of course, the players are here as well. So let's get to them. First up, from Sleepy Seattle. I'm guessing it's probably Sleepy. From, I don't know. We'll have to check in with Dairies. Hey, buddy.
Hey. Yeah, the weather's starting to get nice here, but I can't actually enjoy it.
Right.
I'm basically house-ridden at this point.
Yes, and we'll probably talk about that in a moment. So
there's a teaser for you.
Yeah, let's just wait for that. Yeah, that's a little teaser for you. So we'll go over to La La Land, to Hollywood, California, to the Funky Monk. It's Coltrane.
Fortune cookies say.
Oh boy.
The Shattered Hand Clan is bad at football because they only know the handoff. Because they don't have a hand. It's a blade.
That's so bad.
They only know the handoff.
Sorry guys,
so bad.
the show's over.
Shattered hand.
So we're just calling it right now.
The Shattered Hand Clan.
Oh.
If anybody gives Colt any bongos for that,
I watched all the bongos.
No. Minus $1 million.
They have turned on you.
Oh, worst one yet. Yeah, chat room.
Wow.
Nice. Hey, this is for the chat room. Oh, wait. There we go.
Oh.
That's for the chat room.
I'll give you 8 out of 10 and a hand.
Wow, they turned on me.
Give Coltrane a hand, everybody.
Oh my goodness, the chat room is turned on me.
They totally turned on you.
Wow.
I like it.
Oh my gosh, it's rioting in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was sent in by Time Flow, and I want to thank you because I think that's brilliant. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your participation, as always.
Oh my god!
And according to the chat room, worst one yet.
Wow.
That's really bad.
Yeah, but really, if it's the worst one, doesn't that make it the best one?
Maybe.
I mean,
I don't know.
Right? Right?
You're in trouble.
I really am.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what's going on this week. Darius, you kind of alluded to something that happened to you, and it actually made you miss raid for a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? What actually happened with you?
So I was late to raid on Sunday because I was busy sitting in the ER,
right?
Getting my ankle looked at. I ended up this weekend playing soccer. I ended up fracturing, dislocating, and tearing the ligaments in my ankle.
Yeah,
playing soccer. So I spent part of Sunday night. I ended up getting in about halfway through and raiding on painkillers, which was really interesting.
Irritable Dairies. Well, actually, no, wait, I'm sorry. After you took the painkillers, it was great. But you endured the majority of the raid with no painkillers.
I know.
Yeah, I really don't like taking them, especially when I'm doing anything where I need to pay attention. I remember at one point after taking them, one of the strats we were using on Blackhand was for me to life grip one of the tanks. And I didn't happen, and the tank called me out, and my response was, sorry, I blacked out for a second.
Right.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. You started talking like strange, and you were like, you need to watch out for the Bazooba Debo and the Badabajiba. Like, what? It was insane. It was pretty great.
And then you said, I'll just shut up now for a while.
Yeah.
I believe.
It was interesting.
That's good.
So yeah, I've spent most of the weekend in and out of different doctors and machines while they do all these tests and whatnot. But now I'm confined to a boot and I can't walk for a couple weeks. So that's why I was asking pre-show about some good movies coming out.
Right,
because I need something to do.
Right,
but you could always just do the garrisons and the WoW's stuff and all the things.
The prison.
Yeah. Exactly.
How about that? I got to tell you, I was impressed. I mean, that's hardcore. You had like a major injury and you still raided like a progression raid. So I salute you, man. Thank you for being there for the team.
As someone once told me, some greedy person once told me, it's all about the loot.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. I think we even have a song about it.
It's all about the loot. About the loot. You get it done. It's all about the loot. About the loot. You get it done.
Yeah. All right, that's it. That's all I'm going to play.
Oh, man, just loop that all day. Just all day, baby.
Right.
All day long.
Right. So Coltrane, what has your week been like in WoW?
Well, something happened in-game to Coltrane.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of this story, I would like a 3-second moment of silence.
Oh, boy. All right.
So, log into the old garrison.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. Mythic Blackrock Foundry Garrison Mission.
Mm-hmm.
There it is in all its glory. Saying, hello, look at me. I've got mythic, amazing gear for you. Which followers would you like to assign? I'd like these 3. They're all at max level. I've got about 6 party buffs across the board. Increases success chance everywhere. And it puts it at 95%. 95%. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling great. Nothing could possibly go wrong.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Start this bad boy up. I log in the next day, and I'm literally so excited. I'm like, oh, maybe it's a weapon. Maybe it's a trinket. Maybe it's a failed.
Oh.
The mission fails. So I would like to take a 3-second moment of silence.
All right. That's all we got. It was like a second and a half. It was like a second and a half.
That's all right. I'll take what I could get. I don't know, man. I gotta, because I saw a lot of this on Twitter here. So Blizzard, I need you to look at your servers, in particular my case, and reopen it and see something clearly went wrong. Because 95%, I had all the stuff covered except for one, but they were all at max level. Like no one was in the red. Everything was good to go. 95%. And it failed. And
you have the garrison add-ons, right?
Yes.
So, all right.
I got that mission manager or master plan, whichever one it is.
They both work for different things. I don't know exactly what they do. As long as you have them both, you're set.
Right. So, but I see some people that are like, I failed 100%. But then you look at their thing and they've got like 2 guys are good to go. And then one's like a 620 eye level, or you know what I mean? The lowest. And like, well, yeah, that's why like all of them have to be max. And mine were. They were all max, everything. But I did see someone post on the tweeter, they had like a 99% fail or something like that.
Right.
So I don't know, something's in the water. It was going around. They got to check the well at the old garrison.
And didn't Blizzard, I think Blizzard did a hot fix for 100% fails, which we've heard about before as well. And so I think they did some sort of fix this week on that. Just taking a look at the 100% fail and trying to figure out exactly what's going wrong there. So,
well, in that process, like make the 90s fail, like
well, 95%, you got 5% chance to fail. If you fail, that's on you.
Yeah.
If it's 100% and it's still a fail, then it's kind of on Blizzard.
I'm telling you something. Well, I guess that's probably true, but I'm telling you, 95%. I mean, come on.
Right.
So that was my week.
There's a little trick if it's 100% to tell if it's actually 100% and not rounding up like a 99% or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's if you stick all your followers in, and at the top it always says, even if all your followers are 100, it'll say the bonus XP, and then in parentheses it'll have a green number and it'll say plus something else. If it doesn't have that green number, it's not actually 100%. That green number is, this is 100%, you cannot fail this, and this is the bonus XP you will get because of it.
That's interesting.
So if you ever throw them in there and you don't see that, it's you're probably looking at like a rounded up number.
Okay.
But
well, I gotta find a way.
A 95% should pass 110% of the time. I mean, come on.
Right. I agree.
Well, and Dairies, you were talking, speaking of garrison stuff, you were talking about something before the show as we were kind of, just kind of discussing it before we went live. What was your thing this week?
Oh yeah, the treasure hunter followers. I've got a pile of those now. Treasure hunter followers, and then epic mount followers, and they are so lucrative. I have 4 tunes at 100, and each one of them probably makes about 1,000 gold just passively, just from doing garrison missions.
Really?
From the gold missions that pop in. And then one of the great things is because we had killed so many mythic bosses and we've killed so many bosses in Blackrock now, that when I get the high mall mythic caches, it comes with 1,000 gold base on it. And then I throw treasure hunter followers into that. And I'm looking at 4,000, 3,000, 4,000 gold just for that one mission, plus mythic Blackrock, a mythic high mall item.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I've found out this week myself as well. Get some of those treasure hunters and stick those guys into the equation as much as possible, and that'll be your repair money for the week.
Yeah,
it'll definitely help with that. So
no kidding, and also too, so people know, and I'm sure you do, but the inn. If you have the inn, you can actually set your little abilities or your traits. So that's how you can specifically get the treasure hunter thing.
Right.
But that's insane. And I got a super quick question about garrisons. Is there a way that I can find out if I've got like 2 followers that have the same traits that I should re-roll?
Yes. So if you're using the garrison mission, I think it's garrison mission manager or one of those. It's the one you're using that says missions of interest at the bottom.
Yeah.
When you click on it, it tells you these are the followers you need for these missions. Well, if you scroll all the way to the bottom of that, it lists all of your duplicate followers, the followers that have the exact same stats as something else. So just pull those up and re-roll, because we're constantly getting those re-roll tokens now and whatnot.
Right.
From the mission. So those are what you should focus on.
I passed those, but not the 95% mythic Blackrock Foundry. No, I don't get that one. No, that's a fail.
Right, of course. Oh man, I know that. Okay, so this week I have an interesting story from this week. Actually, it was from last week, but I'll say it this week. I went in on my hunter Zug into some LFR action.
You have a hunter?
Yeah, I have a hunter. I like playing the hunter, and I went in, and I didn't realize that I had pack on, and I wasn't checking chat or anything like that. I apologize to everybody.
Oh no!
And it was the initial. It was before a boss. It was before a boss, but they wanted to kick me, and because I wasn't checking chat, and it didn't fall off or anything like that. So I want to apologize to everybody in that particular LFR for my my silliness.
So during the fight, you had it during the fight?
Yeah. Well, it was on trash. It was on trash. It was before the boss. I hadn't played the hunter in a while. It'd been a while, and pack was on apparently.
But
so
that's something that should be ingrained in you.
I am
Dork of the Week.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is classic.
Yeah,
living up to that uncharted right there.
It's just I wasn't paying attention to chat. It's one of those things, and I wasn't looking. I wasn't being affected by days.
That's so funny. I just love it because you always see like turn pack off. And I've been that guy yelling at the hunter.
Me too.
Come on, turn it off.
Me too.
Right. That's brilliant. That's great.
Yep.
Well,
I see from Fate, Zug, top 5 hunters NA. Thank you.
There it is.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. What else is going on? Oh, hey, I've got some news before we actually get into the show part of the show. I want to talk about something. I talked briefly about it last week at the end of the show, but now we are set with the Minnesota meetup. We every year I've done the Minnesota meetup, and usually it's been in May. Last year it was in whenever it was. I think it was July or June or something. But we're going to go back to May this year. We're going to do May 2nd, 2015. Which is a Saturday, and that kind of lines up with Comic-Con Minneapolis. So we're gonna have the Minnesota meetup once again at the Herkimer, which is a real place. It's not a made up place.
The Herkimer.
The Herkimer.
Yeah, that's you tried this last year. It didn't work.
I had pictures and everything. People had a great time at the Herkimer. So it's going to be at the Herkimer in Uptown Minneapolis. It's going to line up with Comic-Con as well, which is really cool because we've got Carl Urban is going to be there. Jason Mewes I mean, we got some big stars coming out.
Did you say Keith Urban?
Yeah, Keith Urban.
The country singer?
No, Carl Urban.
Oh,
very close.
So, very, very
And they're
close.
all staying at the Herkimer in uptown Minneapolis.
Yeah.
They are. The voice of Batman is going to be there, Kevin Conroy.
I'll be there.
I just love it that a place called Herkimer is in uptown. That sounds like a downtown, not an uptown.
It really does. It sounds more downtown.
High-end Minneapolis is at the Herkimer.
Downtown. But they got great beer. They got great food. What else could you ask for? Come on.
Right.
Come on. And so we'll do that in the afternoon.
A real name.
We'll do that in the afternoon, and then we'll do the Comic-Con in the morning, go to the Herkimer in the afternoon. It'll be beautiful. It'll be beautiful.
It's like a nice little Saturday.
I'll bring a bunch of prizes. We'll have some fun. Jules Scott from Torn Think Tank is going to be there as well, and so it'll be fun. It'll be fun. It'll be good. All right. And anything else? No, let's just get into the raid news. What do you say, fellas?
Woo!
Calling all raiders from around World of Warcraft land. This is raiding news.
All right, it's time to check out what's happening with the raiding news around World of Warcraft, and really not much. Not a lot this week as far as what's going on. But there was some stuff. We had Blackrock Foundry Raid Finder Wing 4 pop up, which means that everybody can kill Blackhand, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys try this?
Yeah.
You tried it, Dairies?
I tried it, yes.
When did you try it?
What
was your experience like?
It's probably Tuesday.
And?
So to start it off, the raid team or the team I was with wiped twice to the trash before Black Hands, and then I think we wiped 3 or 4 times to Black Hand himself. And it's obvious, as with every LFR, that one tank in there half read half of the dungeon journal, while the other, I think, just hit 100 yesterday. And had never tanked.
Oh boy!
It was a lot of that. A lot of people that they just jumped right into it, which LFR is getting okay for that, but it's the end. It's an end tier boss, so it's going to be a little bit less forgiving. And then a lot of people that just weren't learning from their mistakes and weren't bothering to listen to raid chat or anything like that. The one tank that had half read the dungeon journal was actually trying to be very helpful. I think he had an add-on that would just kind of spit out all of the strats for different for the ranged and the healers and things like that. But it was your typical LFR experience. What can I say? And it's such a long fight that after 4 wipes in the final phase, you start thinking, is this worth it? What am I doing here?
See, now I had a very different experience from that. Very different.
Oh boy.
Very different. I went in on Tuesday. It was probably, early afternoon on a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And we blasted through that place in no time whatsoever. We went through there in like 7 minutes. I mean, it felt like it was, and that's not including the trash, obviously. I mean, we went through and it seriously just one-shot it, and it was so easy and slick, and everything was perfect. I was like, I want more bosses. I want more bosses on this because it's just one boss.
Right.
I don't know.
But imagine if you had Dairies' experience. You'd be happy it's just the one boss. and the chat room, too, is saying, BM Jagger, I got lucky on Blackhand LFR, got into a progression run and got the kill. Another one here did great. Now here's the thing, and we've kind of mentioned this. We got this a little bit in the show notes.
Yeah.
A lot of these people that had success early in the week.
Yeah.
That's when they had the success. They're saying, like, I ran it on Wednesday and Tuesday. But if you start getting into the Thursday, Friday, you get to Saturdays, then you're in trouble.
Well, and that has kind of always been the case, hasn't it? I mean, where you find that people that are doing LFR on the weekends, maybe they are LFR only folk. And not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's just they don't have the experience that the guys on Tuesday do. The guys on Tuesday want to get in, get gear so that they can go raid that night on normal or on heroic or whatever. That's my personal experience with it. And I don't know. Dairies, what do you?
I just got maybe the wrong group or whatever.
You were in on a Tuesday and you failed. What's up with that?
I might. It's bad luck, I guess. Bad luck.
Everybody else trying to ride the Tuesday coattails, and they couldn't do it.
Well, I noticed too that I find that, when it comes to LFR, you first tend to do it with your main or something like that. So he's got a lot higher gear.
Right.
And then, later on down the week, then you start bringing your alts in there. You know what I mean? Who are like in fresh 630, can barely do heroics. And now you're going up against Blackhand LFR. I've just noticed that there's just a major gear difference from the beginning of the week and the end. And it makes sense. Your main, you do him first. Maybe you're trying to get the runes or something like that.
Right.
The extra gear. Then you do your second alt. And then maybe your third. And then your fourth, as the week goes on. So, that's how LFR's kind of always been. It gets a little bit more dangerous the later the week goes.
More dangerous. More expensive for your repairs.
Yes.
That's for sure. Gosh. A little bit better for determination.
Oh yeah, and I think we're all happy that they brought that back, and I think overall LFR is a lot easier in this expansion, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah,
I don't like the challenge, and for those saying, "Oh, this is too easy," would you prefer how it was in Mists when you're having 8 or 9 stacks of determination? You know what I mean?
No.
I think we're in a better place now than we've ever been with LFR, but yeah, later on down the week it gets a little bit more dangerous.
Right.
Gotta be careful.
Right. And this was brought up in chat, but did you guys get your 715 ring yet? Or are you still collecting?
I'm still collecting. I'm super close.
Yeah. I'm close. I missed a couple weeks because of travel and everything.
Right.
I'm close.
I need another 100 of those things, and then I'll be able to get my.
So you might get it
tablet.
this week then.
Maybe. Who knows? Yeah. Or maybe next week. We'll see. Oh man, what is the plan, by the way, for this week's raid?
We plan on wiping a lot.
Right. Okay. Cool. Awesome.
We've still got a few people that could finish up 4 pieces and things like that. So we're going to do a full clear. We cleared last week. We did the whole thing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So we'll do that again this week. Finish off the tier, and then we're going to kill Black Furnace Hand.
Furnace Hand. Yes.
Tomorrow.
Cool.
Awesome. Yes. And very happy with Blackhand. We've actually advanced. We're getting consistently on heroic Blackhand to phase 3, and I can smell a kill coming. I'm telling you, it's right.
We're not that many wipes in. We wiped significantly more, I think, on Blast Furnace, and made much less progress than we have on Blackhand.
We're already going to phase 3, so that's good. We just need to get that thing down, and I think that this week it might happen. So,
absolutely.
Looking forward to it, fellas. I am. All right, let's take a look at some Raiden stats. Now, of course, MMO Champion, quiet week, so MMO Champion, what they normally do is they take a look at the Armory stats and kind of give us reports on things. And one of the reports was the percentage of players that completed raids on different difficulties and what raids they were for. But this is for Warlords raids, right? Darius, what's going on with this with these graphs and charts and things?
So the first chart we have is percentage of players that completed raids on any difficulty. So this is LFR, normal, flex, mythic, heroic. Flex isn't a mode anymore. So we've got it looks at high maul, the wings, and Blackrock the wings, and then it separates out actually Imperator and Blackhand. And if you look, you can see in high maul wing 1, almost 70% of the people, or the 70% of the tunes in WoW that are, I think, 100. I think is where they pulled from, have killed a boss in High Maul Wing 1, which is really, really, really good.
Yeah. I think for Siege of Orgrimmar, we saw that it was about 60%, somewhere over 60. So seeing somewhere around 70%, that's a little bit better. That's kind of cool. I like that. And
then even better is Imperator is just under 60%. That's the final wing boss of it's not a tier, but it's like a half tier or whatever, just to 60%. There was a time back in the like Ulduar and Lich King days where it was something like less than 20% of the WoW community had seen and actually killed Lich King, and this was close to the end of a tier, when that was happening, and that was Blizzard had come out with an article back then saying like this is not what we want. We spend all this time. We want people to see this stuff, and this is a great number. 60% have killed that, and then it drops off when you get to Blackrock. It's under 40 for Wing 1, and then finally Blackhand is about 8%, which is to be expected with LFR just coming out this week and all that kind of stuff. But these are promising numbers for the amount of effort that Blizzard puts into these raids and how fun these raids are. I mean, this is a really good raid tier for people to be coming into and experiencing. These are fun fights, even in LFR. There's still excitement in there.
And I know plenty of casual raiders that are still working through High Mall and through heroics or maybe moving into mythic stuff every once in a while, and they're not really ready for Blackrock yet, and that's cool. That's totally cool. I know that a lot of teams are still kind of chewing on different bosses, grinding through, and that's really cool. I'm glad to see these numbers, and so I'm not really worried about those Blackrock Foundry numbers at all. That they're under 40. Oh no!
Yeah,
right.
So
we still got plenty of time.
Oh yeah,
and with everyone, being able to cross server group with everyone, invite your friends from another server and everything, it just makes raiding so much more accessible and easy. And it's so great seeing these numbers because, for us, raiding, we feel that's the best part of the game.
Yeah.
So it's exciting seeing more raiders get in there and experience this great content. So
right.
It's great news. It's great news.
Yeah. And then the next couple of graphs that MMO Champion showed were talking about mythic bosses, right, Dairies?
Yeah, so then they broke out High Mall percentage of players who defeated mythic High Mall bosses, and it's about 9% have killed mythic Kargath, which is to be expected. You would expect the top 10% of players to be killing mythic bosses, and then we've got Twin Ogron is about 5%, but then you drop to Morgok, you're looking at 0.5%. 0.5% of
right.
100s have killed that boss, which
is fine.
That's not bad at all. I mean, you want to see that. You want to see this progression of difficulty.
Right. And then the new raid came out, so then everybody went over to Blackrock, right? I mean, everybody that was fighting Mythic, we had that as well because we were 2 of 7 Mythic in High Mall, and then we moved over to Blackrock to start, doing heroic over there. So.
Yeah,
it's all the deal. Although I do like the number of people that have defeated mythic Blackrock Foundry bosses is really under 1.5% at this point.
The scale is so low that the scale goes from 0 to 1.5%.
Yeah,
that's how little.
Yeah,
which is fine. Which
right.
I'd like to see numbers like this. I don't. I like to see a lot of people experiencing it, but it still requires that high level of skill to actually, complete all the way through in Mythic.
How long has Blackrock been out now? It's been out, oh gosh, for a while, right? I mean,
I think it's a month now.
A month.
Yeah.
So should we be seeing more Mythic Kills? I don't know. Coltrane?
I think the difficulty is really ramped up in Blackrock Foundry in regards to this Mythic stuff. These fights, like we've been saying earlier in last week's show, there's a lot more personal responsibility. And when that happens, you're going to have a lot more wipes and a lot more screw-ups. You know what I mean? It's just going to happen. You're going to stand in fire. You're going to forget this mechanic. So these fights are actually, I believe, a lot harder, and especially on the Mythic side of things. When we had Affinity on, he was saying it is kind of nice when if you meet a gear check, all you need is more gear, and then you'll down the boss. But in Blackrock Foundry, even more gear, it helps, but it doesn't really make you down the boss. You still have to do these mechanics, and it's all about personal responsibility. So, especially on this Mythic side. So, I think that's the deal.
Right. Anything to add there, Dairies?
No, I think he's right. And like I was saying, I think these are good. This is I like seeing that Blackhand took so long, and then I thought it was even better that. When Method killed Blackhand, it then took another week or 2 for most teams to kill him.
Right.
I think this makes it more interesting and more exciting.
I did get to see Trekkie. He's in Nihilum, I think it's pronounced.
Yep.
And with Kungan.
Yep.
And I got to see him live stream the night before they introduced the new eye level bump. So everyone was calling it the nerf.
Right.
And they wanted to kill the boss before the nerf, and they got him. And it was pretty amazing watching his stream, and they killed Mythic Blackhand. So it was great. The nerd screams were pretty huge. So it's always good to see.
It's always funny trying to get under the line of a certain whatever. I mean, this one, it was for the eye level buff. In Firelands, it was that huge nerf that they did to the entire raid. We just want to get this one boss down, and just before the nerf. And I remember we tried to do that with our team, and we couldn't do it, and it was just it was so depressing.
Right. And then after the nerf, Elizabazor was like
piece of cake.
Nothing to worry about.
Then we got the next two bosses like one shot. Is like, oh great, great.
I believe it's pronounced Nylum. I think someone's saying in chat room. So
Nylum. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So we also have this week, we have a little bit more detail on the WoW token. If you remember, this is the token that you'll be able to purchase and then sell for in-game gold. Purchase for real money, sell for in-game gold, or buy for in-game gold and get free play for yourself for a month, which is pretty cool. And the big news is, how much is it going to cost? Well, they've determined that it's going to be $20 US. So $20 US will get you the token, so a little bit more than game time actually costs, and then they'll set the gold prices initially based on whatever, right? What are we expecting as far as gold prices? Dairies, maybe.
I'm expecting to see this for about 15 to 20K. That seems to be the going rate for gold these days after a cursory search of the internet and the URLs that pop up in trade chat constantly. It seems to be about this. So I'd say about 15 or 20 is where it's going to start. You'll see a lot of servers that have a lot of people buying, a high pop server with a lot of people with a lot of gold. I'd say those prices probably go down, as people kind of, demand as the demand kind of to fluctuate. You might see it on low pop servers. The price might go up.
Right.
But I'd say it's probably going to stay in that range. And I think that's fine. I'd be willing to pay 20K gold for a month of WoW.
Right.
Well,
and I'd be willing to sell a month of WoW for 20K.
Right.
Yes. There you go.
No, I do. I like that. And the thing that I really like about this is that Blizzard is setting the price for the in-game gold cost. I think that's fantastic.
Right.
It's not being manipulated by the players. You've always got, some people, their version of PvP is the auction house, undercutting and trying to change the market and this and that. But I like it that Blizzard's kind of in charge. I think it was in Arcade. I think I was playing that, and the players could set it. And that price was like ridiculous. If it was this amount, okay, great. And then somebody puts it on for like, for 9 gold. I'm like, oh, okay, And I don't know. I like it that this is in Blizzard's control, and that they're going to find out the supply and demand in each server and each region, and then set it that way.
Yeah, it's going to be each region, not each server. So it'll be even mellower of a switch. So I mean, you'll have to see what the trends are over a wide expanse, not just one server. So don't worry about it too much. That'll help kind of slow the movement down a little bit, I think.
Yeah. And chat room saying, they're saying 30K possibly, and I do like that it's $20. I like the $20 price. What were you saying, Darius?
I don't know how Blizzard, I don't know how they plan on regulating it after it comes out, because they can set the initial price, but once they say, okay, you can now spend $20 on this, you then set the price. The players set the price on how much they sell it for in game.
No. They say, okay, you want to sell this coin? Here's how much we'll give you. This is the going rate of the thing. There's no price setting. There's no price setting.
I won't be able to say I will give you 20K gold for this.
And you won't be able to do a 1-to-1 deal either. Okay. You won't be able to trade it or anything like that. It'll be yours to sell, and that's about it. And then once somebody buys it, it will be soul bound so that they cannot resell it.
Right. You can't buy the token, put it in your bags, and then re-put it up on the auction house for a lower price or whatever.
This is what happens when you try to read these articles when on painkillers.
Yes.
Exactly. But it's kind of cool, and I'm digging it. I know that they set up some stuff for in-game now. You can see it on the auction house in North America. I'm not sure if it's active or not. I didn't check it before the show. I checked it earlier this week, and I could see that there was a WoW token spot for that to happen. It wasn't active yet. So we should be seeing that soon, hopefully. I don't know. Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then another thing that happened in WoW. Actually, it wasn't even in WoW. It happened on this show. Last week we were talking about stuff, and we got a lot of reaction to last week's show. Now, we had a couple of different things that happened last week's show. Number one, we talked about MOBAizing PvP. We talked about Heroes of the Storm players, why people play Heroes of the Storm but don't PvP in WoW. And we also talked about rating difficulty or difficult. How did you pronounce it, Coltrane?
Difficulty. Yeah, that was insane. Listening to that again, I was like, "Oh God, difficulty."
So let's take a listen to what some people had to say about the PvP stuff, and here we go.
Hey, this is Uenrar from Feathermoon. I was just calling in to comment on the Heroes of the Storm and PvP discussion. I totally agree. I think PvP is a drastic change that's needed. Was playing PvP in Classic WoW, and it was simple, it was fun, you had a few battlegrounds that you worked with, and you knew exactly what to do. Now feels like there's 20 battlegrounds, feels like there's 100 spells you can cast. It almost just feels possible to comprehend it all. And I think WoW PvP would come back 10 times what it is right now if they were to do Smite, but way better. Thanks, and appreciate the show.
All right, so there's one for Smite style PvP.
Yeah, and that's a thing kind of Blizzard is pretty amazing at. They sometimes will take an existing genre and improve upon it. You know what I mean? And make it amazing. So if they were to take something like Smite and improve upon it, it could be incredible. I mean, that could be maybe if it's not all of WoW PvP, maybe that's a particular mode or a particular map or something like that. But it's interesting what he said, simplification.
Yeah.
That the WoW PvP, and that's what we talked about last week too. It's too complicated. There's too many spells, too many battlegrounds, too much stuff going on.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I know what they're doing with PvP. Like, they're really trying to figure out what is going to motivate players to go through. And so I think that we've seen these different maps be created to create a little bit more variety and to see what is really moving people. And then they came up with the thing where you could blacklist different PvP areas so that they could kind of get a little bit better feel for what you don't like and then try to steer away from that in the future. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of maybe confusion or complication for new players to PvP in those different maps, and so maybe that's some of it too. I don't know. Maybe it's just like people don't know what's going on. Like, it's not set in stone. Like, I know the battlegrounds are, but I mean, it's like you could be in any one of these things, and I don't know. Maybe too much going on. All right, we have another one, and this one is talking about Conquest.
Hi guys, long-time listener, first-time caller. I was listening to y'all's podcast about the PvP issues last week, and I thought I would share my viewpoint, because I'm one of those who starts and they do a lot of PvP at the beginning expansion, and then I stop. And after listening to y'all talk about it, I realized why I stopped, and it's the fall behind effect. And I feel like if I don't PvP every week, then I'm not maxing out my conquest, and I'm on an uneven footing. And the problem isn't that I can't work back up to it. It's that even if I work back and gain the conquest that I get with the catch-up, it's still not enough, because it's not a one-to-one. I'm always going to be behind. And I just give up, and I go to Heroes of the Storm, where I start on an equal footing. Anyways, love the show, and thanks for doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're seeing a lot of conversations happening in chat as well. So we'll get to that in a second.
Absolutely. But now that point too is what we talked about last week in regards to gear.
Right.
You know what I mean? That if someone outgears you, that in Heroes of the Storm, everyone is on an equal playing field.
Right.
I know if I go up against that guy, we have the same gear, so to speak. You know what I mean? That I have an equal chance of killing him as he does to me.
Right.
So it's interesting. So in two calls right now, we've heard simplification, and also gear.
Right. Right. And we're seeing in the chat room right now from people that play PvP that they love the complexity and they don't want that to change. And I'm guessing that we'll see something about gear pop up as well from those guys that do PvP. And yeah, I mean, I think gear is kind of one of the things for people that don't PvP now that is holding them back for sure. So,
and also too, for the chat room, and forgive me, Dairies, just super quick. All we are doing is answering this question.
Right.
This is not like our feelings on PvP and everything that needs to happen. And we need to change this or change that. The question was, do you play Heroes of the Storm? Yes. Do you PvP in WoW? No. Why is that?
Right.
So all we're doing is answering that specific question.
It's not going to what the problems of PvP are or what the good things about PvP are. It's about this question set to Heroes of the Storm players.
Yes.
So, Darius, what were you going to say something?
I was going to say what what if because the caller is talking about the fall behind thing, where you no longer have the PvP gear that everyone else has, and that was always an issue in WoW for raiding. But then they introduced LFR and they introduced dungeons later on that in Wrath that gave you better gear and all these other catch up mechanics. What if there was something for PvP? A PvP LFR equivalent or something like that, where you could catch up.
Isn't that Battlegrounds? Isn't that just normal Battlegrounds?
But you're jumping into Battlegrounds with other people that have significantly more gear than you, and it's not like you're trying to kill a boss with them; they're trying to kill you.
Right. I think the gear gets kind of weird when you're in PvP anyway, and the PvP gear is always throwing off the PvE side of things too. So yeah. It's always been a little strange, the gear progression for PvP and how it throws everything else off. So I don't know.
Just scrap the whole thing.
Scrap it. That's it. We're done.
Scrap it.
and I'm sure that we're going to see a bunch of no's coming from the chat room in about 15 seconds. So, all right. So anything else on the PvP stuff that we've heard? Coltrane, I know that we've got some other things to hear. Are you seeing anything in these comments below that stuff that you wanted to bring up?
Well, it's so funny. We talked about some of these reasons that maybe in Heroes of the Storm it's much more simplified. I know that the other enemy only has 4 abilities. I've only got 4 abilities, so that's easy to counter. You know what I mean? To go back and forth. In WoW PvP, you've got 20 to 30 abilities, and so does the enemy. Trying to learn what the enemy's 20 to 30 abilities, a lot more difficult for a more casual PvPer, somebody just getting in. Those that are doing arenas, that are doing like this hardcore stuff, this is what they do. This is what they love. But first one from James, maybe do Battlegrounds where everybody's completely naked. But I think what his point is,
kind of battleground.
Right, but his point is, I think the gearing. You know what I mean? I think it's that same idea of being on equal footing.
Nobody needs to see these guys actually naked though, because otherwise, otherwise you'd have to watch out for your dongle. Anyway.
Oh, there it is. Explicit tag. Fantastic.
Because of that. Oh, man. And one from Aaron said that he completely agrees with Coltrane on everything you said last week, which is good.
It's a good man.
Another one, Misanthropia from Frostmourne says, the rewards don't feel like they're there. Honor feels kind of worthless. And it also doesn't seem like a big risk as far as like character progression and stuff like that, and brought up a bunch of different games and where you risk feeding the team in Heroes of the Storm. If you die, oh my god, we're feeding the team. In WoW PvP, it's just we're just gonna respawn. So something along those lines. Anything else that you guys are seeing for the PvP stuff?
Misthropia saying I play heroes because it's quick and easy to get into. The progression path is very equal. I get that adrenaline rush from killing other players.
Right. And I think we see a lot of the same things in these comments where we're talking about gear and we're talking about complexity and we're talking about making it kind of put the players on even footing type of thing, right?
Yeah, I think I'm seeing a lot of this gear being on equal footing. You know, we talked a little bit about Guild Wars 2 PvP, how the gear is essentially just used for aesthetics. You know what I mean? It's not so much. Now, that's how it was in the beginning. I'm not sure how it is nowadays.
Right.
But a couple people completely agree with if it was that kind of Guild Wars 2 PvP setup. So it seems to be gear, you know, seems to be a big factor here. What if gear was just for aesthetics? What if you didn't actually get power and strength over it? Because when you get power and strength, the weaker guy, he has to grind battlegrounds and get those conquest points and all that to just try to get to equal footing. And if he's already behind, like the first caller was saying, there's no way he'll be able to catch up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing. I think gear on equal playing field is a big problem.
Right. All right. Well, let's move it along to the rating side of things, because I know that this conversation will continue because it's kind of a big deal. I mean, people are looking at it kind of like, okay, well, what are the fundamental issues here? So, again, we have the same thing with rating difficulty in WoW right now. Last week we talked about how some teams were dropping off the face of the earth because of personal responsibility and all that kind of stuff with rating. And here's a phone call that Dairies might like.
Hey, this is Ender from CTR Shah. Just wanted to comment on the rating situation, especially Dairies' comment. Unfortunately, I have to agree with him. In my own opinion, I think what we're seeing for the first time in a while are the most perfectly tuned fights for the difficulty that it's chosen. No more balancing between sizes, and I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing a lot more people dropping out or lowering difficulties is just because they're tuned to how they've always been meant to be tuned. So, love the show. Shout out to X-Rated and Upgrade.
We don't do shout outs on the show.
No.
Never. But he said, unfortunately, I have to agree with Dairies. So congratulations, Dairies.
Woo!
I'm an unfortunately.
But his point being that, a lot of people, what Darius made this point last week was everybody, they look at Mythic and they go, I want to do Mythic. We're going to be a Mythic team, because they look at the top tier and they say, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to be. And then they get in there and it's really hard. And they're wiping constantly, and they're pounding their heads against the wall, and they've spent weeks and they're only 2 out of 10 Mythic, and then maybe 3. And a lot of these high-end teams are actually dropping off. So I think what Darius' point was saying was, this is really kind of difficult. This is really hard stuff. And maybe you thought that your guys and your team was ready for Mythic level content, but maybe not. You know what I mean? Maybe not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And here's another phone call for you to chew on right here.
Uh-oh.
Hi, guys. First-time caller, Jim Cod, Elder Thalis, Resto, Druid, very casual raider. Listening to your podcast. I've been listening to it for years. Love it. Thank you so much. On my way to work now, and hearing you guys talk about the casual raiding and people dropping off and getting frustrated, and just wanted to comment. I think a lot of people forget that this is a game, and some people play a game to win, and they don't have fun unless they're winning. But some people have fun just playing games. And I think this tends to sway sometimes with people just not being able to have fun unless they absolutely win.
Right. Exactly. So, it's one of those deals where if you're not winning, it's not fun anymore. So I quit.
That's true, though.
You guys won't let me go any further, so I quit.
Well, but think about it. Like, if you get into a boss fight and you're just wiping, what happens when you wipe? Morale gets low. You get frustrated. You get angry at your other raiders. You get angry at yourself.
I blame Dairies mostly.
You blame Dairies.
Right.
That's probably it. Yeah.
And that creates a negative environment. And you're not having fun. You know what I mean? That's not fun. It's fun when you're killing bosses or you're making progress and you're getting loot and you're laughing and having a good time with your buddies. That's fun.
Right.
But when you're wiping over and over and over and over again, and then it's everyone else's fault, then it's your fault, and you feel like you've let everybody down and vice versa, it creates a negative environment. And that's not fun. I totally get it.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked about this as it related with different difficulty levels, and saying that some teams are saying, well, let's drop down to the next difficulty level down and do it that way, and that's cool, and you can pass by stuff that way, but you're not going to necessarily get gear, and you're not going to necessarily get the kill on the level that you want it at, and it creates a lot of team discord, and The real approach is that it's not doing your team any good if you're not beating it on the difficulty that you need to. I think that was kind of one of the points that we brought up last week.
Right.
So yeah, you can drop down, but that doesn't do anything for morale. Doesn't do anything for gear. It doesn't do anything for what you need to progress in the difficulty that you set it at. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Dairies, anything from your end on that?
No, I just like I said last week, even if you're doing mythic bosses and that's where you want to be, but you can't handle the wiping, maybe it isn't for you, because like I said last week, raiding is about wiping over and over and over again. And that's just something you just have to get used to, especially with these mythic bosses. You're going to wipe. What was Paragon's wipe count on heroic Blackhand or mythic Blackhand? 667 or something like that.
Yeah, crazy.
Like that, you're gonna wipe. It's just going to happen, especially in mythic now. You're going to wipe, and you're going to wipe a lot. So
right,
it's just the way it is.
Even for us, a heroic Blackhand, we wiped all night, but we were making progress, and we were getting to phase 3, and it was exciting, and everyone was laughing and joking and having a good time.
Yeah.
I think it's like, if you wipe, you wipe. But if you're making progress, that's like the juice. That's like, ooh.
Yeah.
We got him a few more percent down, or like, oh, we jumped up another 5%. Like, this is great.
You have to do that. You have to find the positive when you're wiping that many times. I mean, if you're wiping 100 times, it really kind of sucks. But if you can say we're eking out percentages, we're figuring out the different parts of the fight, it makes it a lot more positive experience. That's for sure. And I know that we had some other comments through email and Twitter and stuff like that about this as well. One was from My Curse, from Tainted Core, which is a team on the CTR guild.
Yeah.
And one of the many, many teams in CTR. And My Curse says that, again, agrees with Dairies, blah, blah, blah.
Blah, 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 agree with Dairies.
But it's kind of cool that Micro says that the thing that happened was that all these teams started getting together. They formed up on Siege of Orgrimmar. So a lot of teams formed up them and they were like going, oh yeah, we're going to do mythic content and blah, blah, blah. And they started up when Siege was already 6 months in. I know that we did this as well. Siege was already going on and we were like, oh yeah, let's do mythic. And that was on farmed out Siege of Orgrimmar. Everybody had the gear, so it was really easy to go through heroics in Siege and then mythic when that finally popped in. And now people are like, oh, this is harder. This is a different difficulty level.
Right.
So there.
I mean, it happens at the end of every expansion where you're over geared. Things are undertuned for where you are at that point, and teams form, and then they get into the next expansion, and they're starting fresh, and they break up. We see raid teams come and go all the time. We happen to see Blood Legion, a few others go this time, but I don't think it's the end of the world for WoW or WoW raiding or anything like that. I think we're just starting to see a more of a balance, because we've seen hundreds more normal and progress into heroic raid teams than we've ever seen before. I mean, you just look at the numbers. 60% of 100s in the game have have cleared high maul on any difficulty or whatever it is. That's awesome. That's so much better than it used to be.
Oh yeah. much So yeah, and there were some more comments, and I'll throw. There's a couple of comments that I want to throw at the end of the show as well about some other stuff that we talked about last week. So be listening for that there. Now let's move into some questions from you guys.
We've got mail.
We do, and if you have a question for about rating or anything else for us, just let us know. You can email us, converttoraid@gmail.com. You can call our raid line, 612-787-RAID. And Coltrane, you want to help with this first one?
Sure. He says, hi, CTR Podcast. I've been playing WoW for about 5 months, so welcome to WoW, pretty new player.
Yep.
I've been doing LFR and have finally started figuring out my rotation for my Frost Mage. Things have been getting better, and I'd like to start doing normal raids. What add-ons or macros could you recommend to me as a new player to improve my DPS, especially for raiding? I already use Mage Nuggets. I haven't really tried any macros yet. Any other tips for a new raider would be greatly appreciated. Thanks. Keep up the great work on the show. At Pibcow.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your question. And what add-ons do you think would be helpful for a new raider? For somebody that wants to get into Dairies, what are some basic ones that we can talk about?
I would say probably the best add-on you can get as a raider is GTFO.
Yeah.
The add-on, this add-on will beep at you in a very obnoxious way if you are standing in anything bad at any time during a boss fight. And it's pretty good add-on. It's very smart. They add things very quickly. And this if you are a new raider and you want to look good, get this add-on, and every time it beeps, move, get out of it. I can't speak for it enough as a new raider. It'll make everyone think you're awesome if you're not standing any bad.
Right.
There's also there's big wigs and DBM as well that you can get, which will tell you the incoming abilities, which would be very helpful. But specifically for mages, I'm not really the person to ask for that. I'd say, maybe play a priest.
Well, as far as GTFO goes, I just want to go back to that real quick, because one of the things that a lot of new raiders are like, okay, let's really make sure that I can get my DPS all the way up and up to 11 and really fine tune it that way. But a lot of these fights are not necessarily huge DPS burns. They're more survivability fights. It's a lot, like we've been talking about, a lot of personal responsibility and stuff like that. So you need something like GTFO to make sure that you're not standing and stuff, so that you can live longer, so that you can do more damage over the long haul. I think that's a big point that I wanted to bring up. Coltrane, now you know the mage a little bit.
Yes, I bleed blue. For my fellow mage brothers.
Right.
Couple things, and I'm actually going to agree with our chat room here. Weak auras is a great add-on to get. And I think it's now Weak Auras 2 or something like that. I don't know if the original Weak Auras is being updated. But download this add-on called Weak Auras 2. And after you do that, go into your little Google search and type in like Frost Mage, Weak Aura strings, and then I think it's like MMO Champion. I mean, first do, Weak Aura strings, and then you'll find some. But I know that there's a great thread on MMO Champion for ways to keep track of specific strings for your mage. And what's actually great is about the string. The string is essentially a whole bunch of code. It just looks like a bunch of gobbledygook, right? I don't know what this stuff is. All you do is highlight all of it, you copy it, and then you just import it into the add-on itself. Someone has already done the work for you, and it's kind of a cool way to keep track of your procs, of your various abilities and all that stuff. You are using Mage Nuggets, which is actually pretty decent for mages, and you can kind of configure it and all that kind of stuff. But Weak Auras is really big. One that I love is Tell Me When. That's a really great one. And that is literally, tell me when this ability is off cooldown. Tell me when I get this buff. Right. And it's kind of a nice, easy to kind of use add-on to set up your own buffs, debuffs, cooldowns, that kind of thing. But I would recommend, if you're just getting in, get that Weak Auras 2, and then search for those Frost Mage strings. You can find them on the internet, and there's a great thread somewhere on MMO Champion. But that's a great way to get started. And then also, there's some class guides on icy-veins.com.
Yep.
ICY-veins is a good place for guides. And also, believe it or not, Wowhead, I believe, is starting to get some decent class guides going a little bit. So I checked those out as well. to improve your deeps.
Yep. MMO Champion, Icy Veins, and Wowhead
Yes.
are all great resources that you should use for anything.
Yeah, and the MMO Champion forums, click on Mage, and usually there's a sticky for Frost in the various specs. So that's also very, very good resource.
I don't know. Have you ever used Spell Flash or anything like that, guys?
I
Oh,
have.
yeah.
It kind of works.
Yeah, it's a good way if you're it's a pretty lightweight add-on. It just makes your button flash if it thinks that's what you should be casting. So like if you've got a proc or a major ability that should always be on cooldown, it'll flash that button on your bar. And it's a good way if you're confused as to like what to cast. Now if you're constantly finding that you're not casting anything for a couple seconds, that might be a good way to remind yourself. But it's not like a rotation. It's not going to tell you how to do more damage. It's just going to kind of help you, remind you as to what you should be doing.
Right on. Okay, and I want to skip down a little bit in the questions. I know we've got a bunch, but there was something that I was going to bring up, and now I can't see it. That's always the way that it goes, right? Here we go. This one is from Kyle Worley. It says, what has been your most momentous and depressing moment in regards to rating? So most momentous and then most biggest letdown. Do you guys have one moment that really stands out where you go, oh, I am king of the world? I know for me it was Lich King. When we got the Lich King down, when we all died right before we come back and win, the heart just went nuts and raid chat was amazing and Mumble was going crazy.
Right.
Anything from you guys? Any particular boss kill or any really awesome moment? Oh, actually, Colt, you had a moment in Firelands when you got your legendary, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That was a definite huge moment. Yeah, getting the legendary staff.
Right.
And ended up doing a series of audio beds for little sounders
right.
and sketches and stuff like that in the past.
Yep.
But I would say for me, believe it or not, killing Mimiron was big deal for me because I love that fight. Lich King was another big one. I had a moment, believe it or not, in Mists of Pandaria, like an individual moment of that was awesome. And it was that fight against Spirit Kings. When you're fighting Spirit Kings, and those are little guys, and there was they send the group of the soldiers across the field, across the battle, and we're fighting, we're getting near the boss, and this thing's coming right at me, and with 0.1 second, I ice block, and it just goes whoop right over me, and I was like, yeah, and then came in and we killed the boss.
Sometimes it's the little things, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Darius, how about you?
I don't know, man. Probably, some of the, close to world first kills are some of the most momentous things. Shaw of Fear was one of those where that fight was just ridiculous on Mythic.
On Heroic.
On Heroic, yeah. Whatever it was back then. Maybe even just hitting 100 for the first time.
Shaw of Fear was an hour fight, wasn't it? It was 20 minutes.
I think it was an hour and a half.
Jeez, that was a long fight.
It was so long that when you entered the second phase, your cooldowns, your daily cooldowns reset. That was actually a bug for the first week of that thing. Was that when you phased into the second phase, all of your daily cooldowns would reset. But I think it's just a commentary on how long that fight was.
That's funny.
It was so long that phase 1 gives you a haste buff once you get to phase 2 for the first time, so that you get through phase 1 faster. Such a long fight, but even like I said, even maybe just hitting 100 for the first time, or not 100, but a max level for the first time on my first tune. It's right. I didn't know much about the game, and you hit that max level, and you're just like, wow, the world opens up. It's basically the leveling process was like the tutorial, and then you hit that max level, and it's like, all right, now what?
Right. I was I was happy. I was a Wrath kid, so I leveled up to 58 or whatever, 55, and I was like, oh, I unlocked DKs. Let's try that for a while.
Right.
So. So that was, there's lots of good moments like that. Some are big, some are small. It's pretty cool. I like it. Any really, big depressing moments? I know that for me it was Sinestra. We were trying to get to Sinestra before the next tier came along and couldn't do it. So.
Oh right. Well, your magic compels you, betrays you.
No. Sinestra wasn't that. That was
Sindragosa.
Sindragosa.
Yeah.
No, Sinestra was the bonus boss for Bastion of Twilight.
Yep.
Right.
I also had that achievement where if no one died, you got an achievement for that too.
Oh, the Undying.
The Immortal. Similar to that. Yeah,
the Undying, I believe, but that was in the when it was in Naxxramas.
Nax, yeah.
No, she had one as well.
Oh, did she?
Where if you defeated her, but this is before nerf and everything.
Right.
It's not in the game anymore.
Feat of strength.
Gotcha.
Cool.
That's awesome. In fact, in regards to the Undying title, my raid team were in Nax, and we were all going for it, and we came to Thaddeus. And you have to jump over the green moat to get to his ledge. So he was like one of our last bosses, and everyone makes the jump except Coltrane.
Oh,
and
no.
I land in the green moat. We're all going for Undying. None of us have died. And I'm like, like I couldn't believe it. And everyone's like, Colt. And I'm running, and my life is just tick, 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 just ticking down as I'm running. And I jump out at the last possible second, and I didn't die.
Oh my gosh!
And then I had to make the jump again, but I'm already at low health, so I got one more shot at this, or else like that's it. So fortunately, the next time we do it, I jump and I make it, and we were able to get the Undying title. So I actually have Undying on my character, but oh my gosh, my heart just stopped.
I never got that because the same guy kept dying every single time we were doing the safety dance. Every single time, week after week. And now I can't get it anymore.
They recommended doing that wing first because most people die in that safety dance. Like, get that wing done with first. Yeah.
That's right. All right. I think that's going to do it for this week's show. It's not a lot going on this week. That's all right.
Yeah, that's all right, though.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you don't need a big, busy week. That's fine.
That's right.
So let's give a shout out to those guys that have given us a 5-star on iTunes. Darius, who do we got?
We have Gimmelcad. I don't know. It might just be a random series of letters and numbers, but
it's a bot somewhere.
I think it's just Gimmelcad. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes.
Right on. Woo! And shout out to all those guys that give us comments and all these types of things on the YouTube stuff, on Stitcher, and wherever else you find us. So thank you guys for all of that stuff. Any shout outs this week? Anything?
Shout out to the chat room. Thank you guys. Yeah. It's good seeing a lot of passion, a lot of, differing views, both positive and negative. We appreciate you guys. It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff.
Right on. And again, Minnesota Meetup is going to be May 2nd, along with the Minneapolis Comic-Con. Going to be great fun. And if you want to check out more about what's going on with that, go to signalsmedia.com/meetup. All one word. signalsmedia.com/meetup for all that stuff. And now I'm gonna bail on the music.
Well, you're just gonna bail out?
Yep.
Bail out of that?
Just gonna bail out of that. I'm gonna play this one.
Well, all right.
I love this music, but I can't dance right now. I can hobble.
He's injured.
You can hobble. You can hobble along to this one, Dairies. We cannot do the show without you guys at home and around the world. Thank you so much for taking the time to rate us on iTunes. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for all the calls this week. And please join in on the conversation we're having at any time. And you can do that real easy. You can email converttораid@gmail.com. You can call us and leave comments and questions on our raid line, 612-787-RAID. That's 612-787-7243. You can follow us on Twitter at ConvertToRaid or where else, Coltrane.
You can follow Pat Crane at Pat Crane. You can follow Coltrane at _Coltrane. And you can follow Dairies at Board Mine.
That's right. And make sure to join the Bazubaguabo Nation by heading over to ConvertToRaid.com. That's where we have the show downloads. We have the videos, the audios, the links for raiders, and so much more. It's all over at ConvertToRaid.com. The guild stuff is over there, too. The live feed is usually on Gamebreaker TV. This week, there was a Twitch thing going on. I don't know. So it's on my personal stream. But normally, it's at Gamebreaker.tv. So make sure to watch, like, comment, share, subscribe, blah, 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 YouTube stuff over there. We're also live streaming on alphageekradio.com. so you can listen on your Roku if you want to, or your mobile device. The audio show is on Stitcher, iTunes, everywhere podcasts are known to be.
Internet.
Pretty much, yeah, internet. The Convert to Raid podcast is produced and distributed by Signals Media. Make sure to check out our friends at signalsmedia.com as a part of the All-Star Network over there. And that's going to be it for the show. Hope you had a good time. We had some good conversation, I think. It was good. And thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week for our next show, 11 a.m. Central. And for all the guys that Convert to Raid, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.